Second. Thank you. Okay. Session number 7, we are going to talk about continuous learning. We had begun our journey last time about continuous learning. We left it at the various technologies that we can mix and match and pick up to be able to implement our digital transformation solution. So I know before some of you say that, oh, are you showing something on the screen? We can see nothing. I'm bringing it up. Here you go. Continuous learning. What did we cover last time? Let's look at. We covered what is continuous learning. We spoke about strategy for continuous learning. We spoke about how to build a culture of continuous learning. In addition to that, we looked at technology trends to choose from to enable for continuous learning and then creating continuous learning through technology. Today, we are going to move forward from there. But before that, as I have promised every time, I'm going to pause for a few minutes or maybe few seconds, depending upon how many of you put up your hands. Are there any questions, clarifications, doubts that you would like me to address? Anyone? Nobody? All right, no problem. I'm going to move into latest technology. Yes, Nikhil, go ahead.
Uh, Tina, I think when we talk about continuous learning, it can be a push-based and pull-based. Both kind of a learning will come into
It
picture.
can. It
Correct?
can, depending upon what is the requirement.
Because normally it happens like when it comes to the continuous learning,
Mm,
and see, I am into the hardcore product and process training part.
mm,
So most of the
mm,
time, like we are into the gap analysis, training need identification, or a coaching need identification, and then accordingly we are trying to prepare certain programs so that the employees can meet the KPIs or can improve the performance.
mm,
So in that particular perspective, the continuous learning always like it is getting surrounded by all these kind of a thing. But when
mm,
it comes to let's say MLM or maybe FLM or SLM kind of a training, which
mm.
is again related to the behavioral aspects or maybe changing the mindset or
People
leadership
management.
skills,
Mm,
correct.
mm,
So there I think a lot of instead of pull based, a lot of push based learning comes into
mm,
picture.
mm,
So then they offer certain workshops, or maybe then they offer certain programs through LinkedIn or maybe through certain
mm,
other external vendors.
mm. So one of the things that we also have to recognize is that when you use the push or whether you push the pull, it depends upon the audience that you're dealing with. Now, let us say that you have the lowest level people who are being trained. Bloom's taxonomy, lowest level. Okay, 1, 2, 3. उससे ज़्यादा नहीं चाहिए. So
Correct.
when you look at that, you have to tailor your design of the training in a way that you push the training to people. There isn't necessarily a pull that you have to create. You push the training to people. They have to do it because if they have to get better at the job, it's very important for them to do it. Having said that, in many situations, it might not be the case where you will be able to push that training to people. Why? Because one, you have limited scope. You don't touch their lives every day. uh, you are a training manager in your department and this person is an assistant vice president, you cannot be pushing trainings. In that situation, also, if somebody is at a higher position in the organization and is, I'm using the word very carefully, guys, expected to know certain competencies, and some competencies cannot be taught, they can only be experienced and learned. In that situation, push based learning can be difficult. In that situation, what you do is you take options like workshops, like Jugal mentioned. You take workshops, you do conclaves, you do best practice sharing forums, you send people to different organizations so that they can learn from there. Because they're so senior, pretty much. Let us say you have to train vice presidents, they're very senior. They respect you, they love you, they have come to your class, their eyes are full of hope. They want to learn something better, but most of the time they're tired, they're irritated, and also there are people who will say, "ये तो पहले ही पता था. This I have already done. What new are you teaching me?" So the teaching aspect goes away. That is where we pull them to situations like a short-term assignment, a long-term assignment where you'll be cross-skilling with this person, or a collaborative arrangement of a conclave where you get to learn things. What will you learn? very gray in terms of learning outcomes, because you never know what people end up learning. They might just end up having drinks and coming back, but they might also learn something new. I'm saying this very confidently because I was also a part of a senior leadership development program. Like he said, SLP. In that, we had a conclave of 9 separate companies where the topmost people would get together and they would learn from each other. That primarily involved short term assignments, long term assignments, weekend meetings, working on projects together, dummy projects most of the time, and brainstorming a lot. And what happened was industry best practice sharing. In those situations, because it is not boring, you're not pushing some micro learning to them or some video that they don't want to listen to because they have a 70 crore decision they have to take at breakfast. Those are the senior people you're talking. So those are the people who get pulled to opportunities where they get to network, they get to learn, and they get to further their presence, visibility in the industry, because that is what will take you to the next level. So response to your question is, Jugal, it's correct, but it depends upon the seniority and the kind of outcomes you're expecting. Now, let us say that you have rehauled the whole um, employee portal for everybody. Now it doesn't make a difference. You can be a senior vice president, you can be the doorman. Everybody needs to learn it. In that situation, आपको मिलेगा push notification. You will get a push notification to learn how to use the employee portal, because if you want to download your Form 16, if you want to download your payslip, if you want to download your demographics or whatever, let us say your career history or anything, your resume or whatever you have to use the employee portal. अब वो पहले जैसा होता तो वो चलेगा नहीं. And nowadays, Babugiri has gone, so you don't get an executive assistant unless and until you are the Malik of the company. So you will have to learn it. In that situation, it will be a push learning. Everybody has to go through it. One size fits all. Cyber security protocol, one size fits all. IT security protocol, one size fits all. But when it comes to compliance, integrity, insider trading, that is where you can do again push learning, because again these are mandates, but they can be different for different levels. But for senior levels, primarily when you're preparing to take on somebody's role, let us say somebody is retiring from the organization, glorious career, this person has intangible knowledge which is confidential. वो आपको भी नहीं बताएंगे. So the person who you're preparing, who's going to shadow this person, is going to learn from this person. In that situation, how do you, as a training expert or a learning expert, enable the process? You simply keep logs of the number of meetings that are happening, and you subtly push the person who is taking on the roles to document some of the intangible information which lies in this brilliant person's brain, that is, nobody has taken or bothered to write it down. For example, I worked in an organization where a gentleman was retiring and somebody else was going to take on his position. And the truth was that primarily the schema of how the product was developed right from scratch and how it has had multiple versions. We were on version number 12. Nobody knew the blueprints of the schema as well as he did. Some of them were documented, some of them were not documented, some of them were just in his head. And if you ask him, he would tell you these are the differences. When we would look at the schemas, we couldn't be able to find the differences because nobody had documented them well enough. So in that situation, we actually had to have a separate meeting to find out how to extract that information over a period of 18 days when he would be leaving the organization. So it was short-sighted on our part, not being able to identify that inko itna kuch aata hai. Plus, the person knew invaluable information about the organization's history, how changes have happened, what kind of legal trouble we ran into. So we eventually couldn't do it. So no shame here. We couldn't do it. We had to put him on a retainer as a consultant till the time we were able to, and we would consult with him on a regular basis. But what I did as a learning officer there, as a human resource person there, I would talk to him on a regular basis and encourage him to create training material. So what I did in a way, by giving him the respect and the recognition that you know more than us and all our training material will fall flat, he prepared all that trainings for everybody else and he poured his brain out on PowerPoint and PDF and other videos that he created. So it took us a period of 8 months to be able to map his brain. And once we got that, we did pull, like Jugal mentioned, how we got the senior people together saying that this gentleman who had left us, finally we have let go of the consulting assignment that we had put him on because of our incompetency to be able to grasp all the information we had. Now you gentlemen are invited cordially invited to come and participate in a workshop where he is going to facilitate these modules that he has prepared over a period of 3 days. You will have to drop all your work. You will have to put your second in command in place. You will have to drop everything, come to this city in Europe, sit with us and learn and interact with him and get all the information. Because it was such an attractive option. Again, it was optional. You could or could not do it. But obviously, people wanted to get that information. And obviously, they realized that it is important enough because senior leaders, you do not send mandatory trainings. You simply say you are invited. And then they decide based on their financial decisions and other, what should I say, deliverables, whether they will be able to do it. Will you believe out of 17 people who were sent that invitation, 16 attended. One person couldn't because of a personal emergency. This is an example of a full kind of a situation where people are driven because of the joy of learning or the criticality of learning, but it is still not made mandatory. And thanks for bringing it up, Jugal. Did everybody get it or everybody got confused as to what is push or pull kind of a training? Did everybody get it? Everybody के नाम पे 14 लोग हैं. Yes, no, maybe?
Yes, ma'am. Got it, ma'am.
Okay. Somebody, I got a response. And other people who are listening, in case you are not here physically or near the computer, we are talking about two kinds of methodologies where you interact with your learners. One is a push methodology where you send them instructions, you give them plans. This is a learning path, you have to follow it, you have to complete it. This is the outcome. We expect you to do this. It's highly instructional. While there is flexibility of how you complete it, but there is highly instructional, and I would, to the lack of a better word, I would say it's a little bit rigid. Whereas pull is you are attracted to the learning because of the requirement of your job, motivation of your job, or your aspiration of your job. Generally, it is true for senior leaders, or it can also be true for you. Let us say you are working as an instructional, sorry, you are working as an analytics person in the finance department, but you are interested in instructional design, or you would like to know something about predictive analytics. That is an aspirational training. So if you go to the employee portal and you see there is this training in Udemy that has been launched and it is available for free, you will make time. So it's a pull. That advertisement there of the Udemy portal, new training being launched is going to be full, and you get attracted so much that you want to do that training in your personal hours. Or you want to tell your supervisor, okay, every day I will be taking 1 hour to do this training. Is it possible? If your supervisor says no, you are so attracted, pulled towards it, you are willing to do it at your own time as well. So those are typical pull scenarios. It's generally used in senior leadership, as I earlier said. Also, rigidity is least and there's highly flexible outcomes. For example, you join some uh, yoga session or something. There is a pull factor which makes you wake up in the morning and go there. But there's the flexibility that in case there was work which is demanding my attention, I have slept at 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. in the morning, I cannot get up and go. There is no rigidity about it unless and until you impose that rigidity upon yourself. But the pull factor is so much, you will miss it only for 1 day or 2 days because you enjoy it so much. So that is an example from practical life of a push and a pull scenario. Now let's go back to what we were planning to discuss today about continuous learning and how we can also implement various elements in push and pull. So primarily we will talk about technology factors which allow us to determine what has to be pushed or pulled. But when we said technology, did somebody say artificial intelligence? Nobody did, but I am going to. Let's talk about technology. What is artificial intelligence? This monster, many people simply interchange terms and conversations when it comes to artificial intelligence. How many people have you met who would say, वो AI से कर दिया, AI से ही हो जाता है, AI से ही तो है. So they use AI for everything, be it robotics, be it chatbot, be it predictive analytics, be it text to image, image to text. They do not understand the subtle differentiation of what artificial intelligence is and the classification. So I did a presentation once on artificial intelligence. Let me tell you, I don't have that slide here, but maybe I will remember to send it over to you. Artificial intelligence in itself also can be classified in different ways. It can be classified through technology. It can be classified through functionality. It can be also be classified through the use, ease of use. So I will send that slide to you. But right now, because we are talking about technology, the classification of artificial intelligence that you see on the screen is based on technology on the left-hand side. On the right-hand side, I have also tried to show many words and jargons that you listen that at least for the past at least 5 to 6 years before, people didn't know what it meant. But nowadays, people are way more educated and informed. Machine learning and deep learning are also organized in a onion model. What is an onion model? So the larger superset, for those who have done maths in class 12 and remember, superset is what contains the other elements which are a part and parcel of it, and the superset cannot function without the subsets. So in this situation, if you see, let's go outward to inward and then we'll go inward to outward. So outward, we are saying the large umbrella of artificial intelligence. Any technique which enables computers to mimic human behavior is classified under artificial intelligence. But how does that get actualized? How does it get executed? We are going one level lower now. It is done through machine learning, which is a subset of AI techniques which allows statistical methods to enable machines to improve user experiences. Now, how does that happen? The statistical methods get applied. How does a machine know which one to use, which one isn't? So here we are talking about deep learning. Now, deep learning is like, if you see the structure on the bottom, there's an input layer, there's an output layer, and then there is a hidden layer. Now, if you see the circles and the pathways, if you've seen the picture of a brain separately mapped out on Google or any other place, there is something called neurons that we talk about. Anybody wants to say what is a neuron? What is a neuron? And what is a neural pathway? Anybody? I'm not judging your science skills. I'm just asking.
Neurons are actually responsible for generating thoughts and different kind of. So I think I don't know. Maybe I read very long back something that every time the neurons are getting generated and they are broken into different things, and the way like it.
Neurons are like chota chota shock dete hain. They are electrical impulses that travels over your neural pathways. How does a machine mimic a human brain?
Hmm.
A human brain is a collection of neural pathways, wide amount of pathways of neuron cells that are capable of creating electrical discharges that travels back and forth from the brain and allows us to function, allows us to communicate between the mind and the brain, which incidentally are different things. The brain is the machine, for the lack of a better word, for the human body, and the mind gives the inputs. The mind can give the input of, oh wow, this is so soft. The mind can also give the input, wow, beautiful smell. The mind can give an input, oh my god, this is not right, this is scary. The mind can give the sense of comfort, it can give the sense of achievement. So mind will relay information. Various neural centers get sparked and various neural pathways are followed for the brain to know what this feeling is. When those malfunction, people go into schizophrenia, bipolar, amnesia, all of that starts happening. So how does a machine create a similar kind of a mirroring or mimicking of this wonderful machine called our brain? They create their own layer of programming that allows you to get different responses for the same question. For example, if a senior citizen asks the machine a question, when can I withdraw my PF? Or when will I stop getting interest on my PF amount? And you are 63 years of age. The same chatbot will process the information based on the hidden layer. It will run to that layer where that information has already been stored for them to retrieve and give an output response saying that this is what is your age. So before that, it will ask you some questions. May I ask your gender? May I ask your age? May I ask since when have you been associated, etc., etc. That is how a chatbot or any other artificial intelligence technology works. So you give inputs, and based on the quality of your input and the detailing of your input, the hidden layer will be a different route, like a flow chart. It will go and fetch the information, and the output layer will provide you the user experience of interacting with an AI technology. This is highly simplified, but there is way more that goes behind it. For example, I use this example and many people relate to it. How many of you have seen the movie Matrix? Has everybody here seen the movie Matrix? If
Not
you
really.
haven't, I recommend that you watch it.
Okay.
In the movie, because, okay, so on a very real scale, okay, there are 15 people here. Can I get a show of hands? How many people have seen the movie Matrix? हाथ दिखा दो मुझे पता चल जाएगा whether I want to use that example or not, or else I will change my example. So 2 people till now have said that there was 3 people. Okay. So only 3 people out of 14 have seen the movie. I recommend that you watch it. Okay. It is uh, it is a mind-boggling, fantastic experience. It becomes so real when you watch it that you want to watch all the parts together. By the way, that is where I demystify that there are multiple parts of that movie. But since everybody hasn't watched it, let me use a different example. So when we ask for information under different situations, we get different responses. For example, I had gone to an astrologer, so I've just changed my example. I'd gone to an astrologer. Those days, going to an astrologer was a normal thing in the family. So everybody goes and asks these funny questions. Uh, when you will get a job? When will I get rich? Okay, when will I travel the world? People tend to ask these questions. Most of you know what an astrologer is, and most of you have also visited them. Yes or no? I'm not judging you.
Yes.
If you say yes,
Yes.
are
Yes.
you okay? If you say no, then also it's okay. And these are the questions you tend to ask, right? When will my son's illness stop? When will my daughter go abroad? Things like that. So one very interesting answer, because I actually would like to say that I was lucky enough to meet one astrologer in my entire lifespan till now who was intelligent enough to give me an interesting answer. So I asked him something, to which he said, I cannot see that. I said, why can't you see that? You're an astrologer, you're supposed to see everything. He said, your hand, the rays of your hand changes with time, depending upon what choices you make. And as time progresses, your lines progress accordingly. I can see up to a point. Beyond that, you have a choice. Based on that choice, whichever route you will take, your fate, your growth, your life will progress in that direction. So there will be a decision point, a T point, as we say. Those of you who drive a car, there's a T point, which will open up whether you will go this way or you will go this way, whichever way. Sometimes it might not be a T point, it might be a fork. You'll get 6 or 8 choices out of which you can choose. For example, let us take a very personalized experience here. You reach a point in your career where you are given the choice that you have to travel abroad. You have a beautiful life waiting there, but you will have to leave your family behind. You have to leave your better half behind. You have to leave your children behind. But eventually, over a period of time, you might be able to move them abroad, and you might be able to also arrange for great education for your children. The other choice is you stay back, you take you miss the career hike, but you still get to stay with your family. The third option is you move to a different city in the country and you get a similar scale, not as big a hike that you were expecting to get, but it still will be quite nice. The other one is you leave the organization and go to another organization which is willing to take you as a consultant, pay you better, but there's no job security. It's a contract for 3 years. And then there's another option where you get to join the family business. Now there are multiple options. Which option will you take? You will decide which one option you want to take. None of you have to answer that. Depending upon your priorities at that point in time and what choices you would like to make, all of them are viable choices. There's no right choice, there is no wrong choice. At that point in time, something might be right for you. After 5 years, something else might be right for you. So that's what the astrologer said. I cannot see beyond that point, even. Once you make that choice, depending upon that, your life will progress. So I can only see up to that point. I cannot see beyond it. So that is what we are talking about here. In machine learning, in deep learning, we develop the neural synapses to reach a point. After that, whatever response the human will give the machine will go in that direction and fetch the information based on that. And you cannot predict beyond that. The more and more the human brain interacts with machines, the machine gathers information and it gets better at it. How many of you have approached a bank bot earlier, chatbot, and got garbage responses? But now with with time and with um, human intelligence progressing, which basically means that the artificial intelligence is also progressing because it can only progress at the rate which human intelligence progresses. You are seeing that chatbots are becoming more and more efficient. Their information is less ambiguous. They are even able to solve problems which earlier you would actually have to call a person, a live person, and you are able to solve those problems. Refunds, reschedules, basic questions, all of that can be solved by a chatbot. Earlier, it used to give bogus responses, garbage responses. That just shows how quickly the machine is learning. So how is it learning? It is learning by understanding when they're at the deep learning level, the one that you saw as a wire mesh, what kind of a path to take in response to what kind of a response you receive. So it decides which path it wants to go at. And based on that, the output layer will reflect the response you get. I try to simplify as much as I can because this is not an easy topic. It is people do courses, full 2 to 3 year courses to be able to understand it. But I'm trying to really simplify it so that for our learning purposes, we understand what it is. So anybody got confused or got clear? Can you let me know, please? क्लियर हो गया कि ऑल क्लियर हो गया ये बता दो यस
Yeah.
जुगनू
So this chatbot and voice bots, this will be part of machine learning, or it will be a part of deep learning.
very good question. All of them have machine learning and deep learning embedded. So let's go back to our classification. One second. Yes.
And one more thing, Tina, because
Yes.
if we talk about analyzing the transactions or the calls, so
Yes.
basically, I think I am sure, I think you must be aware of that. Like earlier, nice logger used to be there, through
Yes.
which the call recordings used to be like analyzed. After that, a lot of tools have come into picture, Ubona, and
Mm,
now there are like again certain tools are coming through which they are removing the manual call listing kind of a thing,
mm,
and they
mm,
are banking and having a high reliance on those kind of a tools, and with that they are trying to audit the 100% calls instead
mm,
of doing just only a random sampling.
mm.
Because when you go and then adopt a manual process, you cannot go beyond a certain threshold. आपको
Yes.
3-4 कॉल से ज़्यादा आप नहीं कर सकते किसी एक एजेंट का
Mm,
in a
mm,
week. But when it comes to that kind of a tool, you can analyze maybe I think 50,000, 1 lakh kind of a call in a day itself,
mm,
and with the kind of a precision of 90 to 95% confidence level.
mm.
So that is also will be a part of this machine learning kind of a thing only.
It will be part of artificial intelligence. So thank you for bringing that question. So I'm sure many of you are thinking it, but I want to also say, whenever you have any piece of technology that uses artificial learning, ladies and gentlemen, it has a layer of machine learning which basically learns from the deep learning. So it is like our brain. Can our brain survive without our neurons? It cannot. Can it survive without a neural pathway? It cannot. So every piece of technology will have these three layers. Now, how the technology responds to you depends upon the kind of deep learning programming it is doing. In your case, the core competency of that mini artificial brain is to analyze calls, get the data correct, clean up the data based on response, what kind of parameters I need to look for. That is what the deep learning will be seeking and giving inputs to the machine learning layer. And based on that, the outcome will be presented. So understand that machine learning and deep learning are embedded in every piece of technology that you use under artificial intelligence. So that means that on the left hand side, if you see predictive analytics or deep learning will all use various forms of neural pathways, etc., to be able to produce results. ऐसा हो ही नहीं सकता कि कोई artificial intelligence technology exist कर रहा है जिसका deep learning का concept नहीं है. Because without deep learning, it is just a shell. It's going to say, hello, how are you? And interact with you. But to be able to analyze and predict data, it will not be able to. It is like talking to a baby who has never tasted ice cream, and we are talking about, do you like strawberry? And the baby will say, strawberry? No. because he or she hasn't even heard about the word strawberry, doesn't know what it smells like, tastes like, feels like, but might be able to repeat and mimic what strawberry is without the knowledge of it. It's like an empty shell. Every piece of artificial intelligence will have a layer of machine learning and deep learning embedded. When we say on the left hand side, predictive analytics and deep learning is machine learning, it basically shows a raw output from machine learning level, because predictive analytics is very transactional. It doesn't require that extreme amount of coalescing of the customer service layer and hello, how are you kind of a layer. When we talk about predictive analytics, there isn't much of a user interface involved. That means the output happens from the neural layer, which is the deep learning, goes to machine learning, and it comes out as a Excel sheet or any kind of an output. But when we are talking about human interaction and interfacing, those are more of the image recognition, more of machine vision, where you also have to take into consideration this quote unquote feeling bit of artificial intelligence. And the same is true for text to speech and speech to text. The neural pathway can predict hot, cold, but what is, it might also predict warm, but it might not know what is lukewarm. See, this is where the nuances come in, where the deep learning has to also learn another thing. Oh, warm and lukewarm might be slightly different. So, what is the difference? And that is how, when you talk to a machine, it is slightly clunky as compared to talking to a human being. So, like I said, it is all games of the neural pathways that are able to be built. Right now, from what I know, my limited knowledge is the hidden layer between the input layer and the output layer is becoming larger and larger and larger in number, because it is going to work through various permutations and combinations of artificial intelligence choices to be recreate an output. Now, the more these layers get created, there are more options. Like I said, there is a fork and you can go to multiple destinations. The number of destinations are increasing, which means the efficiency of deep learning is evolving. Especially you can see that in NLP, language processing. If any of you have heard of the tool Otter that can listen to you and write. In fact, Zoom uses Otter as a tool. You can also use Otter licenses or use Otter for free to, for example, I'm talking, you can just transcribe me totally. You listen to me and it will transcribe word to word. Now, those who have used the free version earlier would say, ये Otter आधे words पकड़ ही नहीं पाता. But now, if you look at how much it has evolved in the last 2 years, you'll be surprised how much it can even predict. If I've just said, uh, we'll be looking at it, it will say, we will be looking at it. It picks up unfinished words, it predicts what it will mean. Looking on the grammar layer, it goes there and sees what are the few options that can be given, and it will complete my sentence. Will be looking at it. It will say, we will be looking at it when you look at the transcribed copy. That is the level of sophistication we are reaching. Then there are expert systems where you have uh, people doing not even calculations, as in they're looking at the share market and predicting what kind of outcomes will happen to the market, to the weather, to when earthquake will happen, when the next meteorite will be coming, and all kinds of things. There's planning and optimization, which I think nowadays is largely used, especially in project management spaces and being in larger organizations where there's a lot of production retail happening. And then, of course, there is robotics. How many of you, just for a fun fact, how many of you have heard the story of a robot who committed suicide? Has anyone of you have heard of it?
No.
किसी ने नहीं सुना? So there is this robot in China because it mimics human behaviors, feelings, and emotions. So the guy at the restaurant, I'm forgetting the name. It's been some time that I've heard this. He had gotten rid of all the staff, and he had one very expensive, exclusive robot to take care of all the work in the restaurant. So the robot was doing a good job. But one day, supposedly, it got so fed up and overwhelmed. It got sad, it jumped in front of a car and it committed a suicide. Now, many people said, what just happened? Robots are not supposed to have meltdowns like human beings. Neither are they supposed to experience any stress. What can happen in stress is it will shut down or malfunction. Why is it committing suicide? Anybody? What is your thought? What is your thought?
Over time.
Why would a robot get an idea for suicide? And why would it even call it a suicide? That's what the log said. The log in the brain, when we analyzed is what went on in their brain of the robot, it said connected to human emotion suicide. Any thoughts? Where did it get it from? Any iRobot fans here? They will be able to give the response to this.
Will
So
Smith.
this thing, sorry, go ahead.
No, no, you are talking about the Will Smith movie, na? I Robot.
Yes.
Hmm.
So it's a slightly philosophical discussion, but chalo bhai, sham ka time. Let's also relate that human emotions are tracked by artificial intelligence as well. They also understand, like it understands the feeling of hot, cold, thirsty, um, tropical climate, a mountain, rocky terrain, volcano, earthquake. It also understands emotions. And how does artificial intelligence understand and depict something that is not measurable or not quantifiable? It sees thousands and thousands of case studies across the world to understand what does this emotion evoke. So the artificial intelligence machine went through, it was designed in a way that it looked at thousands and thousands of brains and human processing and human behavior and understood that if you're overwhelmed, you get sad. And if you get sad, you commit something called suicide. There's also a rude recognition for all of us that how much people are getting depressed and suicidal, that a robot could tap onto that feeling. Then they, of course, fixed the robot and it went back to work and all of that happened. But just bringing to perspective that neural layer processing will mimic human behavior at many dimensions. Many of the times nowadays, when you're listening to YouTube videos or you interact with somebody on the IVR, you don't even get to know whether it's a human or not. How many of you have experienced that? ये पता ही नहीं चल रहा इंसान है कि नहीं. It's so good. Have you experienced it? Any of you?
Uh, Very recently, I have been exposed to these kind of a thing on the voice bots.
Okay.
So I got an opportunity to become a part of the team, like where we wanted to give the inputs to the voice bots.
Hmm.
And the very first time when I was actually trying to converse with that, it was really like looking like an agent that I'm
Hmm.
talking to a human.
Wow. I know, and I can't take the name of the organization, but I know an organization which has created a digital influencer that looks like a human being. They have baked in their entire history, uh, a modeling history, and where it was born, what the parents are, a full trail of the robot's human history. And also they have pictures of the robot in various modeling costumes. So in one, there it's he's wearing a tuxedo, and the lady is wearing some Western outfit, and there's a modeling history and everything they have created just for fun. And when they released it, more than 98% of the people, more than 98, couldn't recognize it to be a bot or a digital influencer, which is not a human, which is a bot. So that level of sophistication, visual manipulation is possible today because the neural pathways are getting more and more real, like human minds. And that is the, what should I say, the inner workings of how artificial intelligence is influencing and enabling comfort, convenience into our lives. It does come with its share of risk and unpredictability, but that is how it's influencing our lives. So enough of a philosophical spiel. I hope I did not bore all of you. We also want to understand technology so that we can. So, one of the things that I want you to do is not memorize any of this. Please do not parrot it. Do not memorize it. Try to understand it as well as possible because I do not want you guys to be writing this word by word in an examination. I want you to explore this, understand it at your own pace, and that's why I give those additional materials. But for the convenience, there was a time, once upon a time, when I would do this subject, and many people would say they do not know the difference between augmented reality and virtual reality. But nowadays, with technology kind of rapidly progressing, most people know the difference between AR and VR. So I have tried to put a mini table in front of you that gives you the difference between augmented reality and virtual reality. I will read through it for the benefit of people who are not in front of the screen. Augmented reality overlays computer generated 3D content on the real world. It overlays. Okay? The user is able to interact with the real world and the virtual world. Then user can clearly distinguish between both the worlds in augmented reality. Augmented reality in many ways, just by the term augment means adds on, augmentation. And then it is achieved by smartphones and tablets and AR wearables. Then we are talking about virtual reality, where both the worlds merge. The virtual world and the real world merge in a way that they seem like one. So visually immerse the user with the simulated objects and environment. ऐसा लगता है we are in that environment itself. Completely shut down the real world and make the user think they are in the virtual world. It becomes almost the same. You find it hard to differentiate between reality and the virtual world, and it is achieved by various kinds of VR headsets. The one that the lady is wearing in this picture is the one that I've also seen in Samsung, and many people on gaming, etc., have started using it for a very immersive experience. I have gone through an immersive experience of one organization's onboarding experience. It was lovely. You feel like you are walking inside their office, you are entering the office with a badge swipe, and you're walking up, you're taking the elevators, you're walking up the stairs to reach somebody's cabin, you're operating somebody's machine. It's really, really amazing. But I have been a part of a trial group who were trying to do their onboarding with a VR experience, and they are quite successful in it. But then they were trying to experiment and see, after COVID, they didn't want to open up an office, but they wanted to have a virtual office, and how they would want to immerse people in the onboarding for that. So it was a lovely experience. There are many, many more examples on the internet if you would like to look. Now let's talk about the other thing that we were talking about, which is the most narrow and the most common experience that all of us are experiencing right now. Yes, Jugal, you have a question.
Uh, I
Mm,
just wanted to understand that the kind of an example which we generally see, for example,
mm,
lens cart. When
mm.
you try to purchase something on the portal or maybe through the app, they generally give you an option like you can have the glasses,
Yes.
and then so will it be an augmented reality?
Yes, it's augmented because you can still interact with the real world, and then you can also get a sense of how I will look wearing these specs. Virtual reality में तो आपका सारा shut down हो जाता है.
Okay,
Even sound and everything, you will basically वो कान में वो पहन देते हो, और अगर आप
correct.
पैर में
We are
बैठे हुए हो,
gadgets
किसी
and
को कुछ सुनाई नहीं देगा, आप दुनिया में चले गए. It's like not having drugs but still transcending to a different level. It's a different kind of a drug.
and similarly on the e-commerce portal like Amazon, Flipkart, like when you buy, they generally give
Hmm.
you an option that okay, you can place that particular object into your room and you can see that okay how
सारा AR है, सारा AR है,
ये सारा
सारा
augmented
AR.
reality है.
सारा ऑगमेंटेड है.
But the Sony
अरे वो
VR,
तो लैक्मे की वेबसाइट पे तो तुम ऐसे लिपस्टिक लगा के भी देख सकते हो. You can apply makeup, you can apply hairstyles. There is this website, the salon website, जहाँ पे तुम्हारा फेस ले लेंगे और तुमको लगा के दिखाएंगे कौन से हेयर स्टाइल में तुम कैसे दिखोगे. It's a very old thing because I remember in Europe it was long time back. When I
hmm.
was in London, it was like passe. Everybody was using it. And even there was this nail parlor which I went to. मेरे लिए तो बड़ा नया था. That you can put your nails in that machine and it will show how the different nail art work will show when you have it on your hand. This is all AR, augmented reality. All right, let's
Thank you.
look at chatbots. I think chatbots are the most, and I use the word narrow. I don't know how many of you caught it. There is a classification of artificial intelligence in terms of its applicability. Now, there is next gen AI, which is being developed where not much forays have happened. Obviously, there's a lot of work that is happening where your lifestyle changes because of artificial intelligence. That's broad AI, where you get to impact all of the aspects of your life. So, a smart home is an example of a broad AI application where you have clap switch, you have sensor based lights, you can switch on your AC beforehand, you can switch off your AC after you left the house, you can turn the car ignition of your car from inside your house. All of that is a broad application of artificial intelligence smartphones. But then a chatbot is a very narrow application. Why am I calling it narrow? Because its job is to respond to your questions. A preset questions have been provided to the chatbot. a certain amount of intelligence has been provided, and rest of it says, I can't understand your question, I will connect you to a live agent. And that's why we are saying a narrow application. But it is a very convenient application because it eliminates many of the manual tasks that we have to do. Those of us who are in training or human resources, or in fact, any other functions also. If there are certain repetitive tasks that come to us, I can relate to it in terms of human resources because I've been there. मेरे को वो दे दो, मेरा लीव रिकॉर्ड दे दो. Give me a loan, give me a statement of employment, proof of employment. Give me my relieving letter. Give me a letter so that I can get a loan from the bank. Give me an address proof because I want to rent a house. All of this can be done by the chatbot. It is very easy, it's very efficient, and people do not have to wait for days for the human resource representative to respond. Now, the other angle of this is because after, not only after COVID, in the last few years, there's been a steady increase in the span of support staff, and the number of people in the support staff has been reducing. That means earlier, if there was a ratio of one support staff to 100 people, now it would be one support staff to 400 or even 500 people. This has been made possible because of these administratively monotonous jobs being eliminated because of artificial intelligence. So a lot of it can happen itself. A chatbot can guide you to a location where you can download information or even download it for you and give it to you. So chatbot is a computer program that simulates and processes human conversations, either written or spoken, allowing humans to interact with digital devices as if they were communicating with a real person. So how does this work? How does a chatbot work? So this is the graphic that I'm showing you, which is fairly simple. So there's artificial intelligence, which is basically the chatbot itself. It has a machine learning, it has deep learning embedded in it. So if you see, the next level says process. So who does the processes? The machine learning does the process and deep learning does the process. So basically, artificial intelligence input layer comes, it goes through the process of deep learning and machine learning. And then what are the outcomes? There is NLP, basically it interprets your language. So there is NLP involved, then there is predictive analytics involved, and then there is a sentiment analysis involved. For example, I am frustrated. I've been asking for this for a long time. Can I please get a statement of my bank account from so and so date to so and so date? So there's sentiment analysis, there's language analysis that the bot does, and then gives you the result that you're asking for. The bot might respond, I am sorry for your inconvenience. I apologize for what you had to go through. We will make this better going forward. All of these things nowadays the chatbot is saying. So that's natural language processing. They've learned that this is how you respond when you get a sentiment where people are upset. So, how do we use chatbots in our learning space? So, first of all, let's understand what are the benefits we'll get. If we use chatbots in our learning space, we can do that through integration with our LMS. For example, hi, this is Tina. I am your um, I am your virtual guide today. What would you like to learn? Something like that in the LMS, and most of you will get that the moment the website will open up or your internal portal will open up. On the bottom right or bottom left or top right or top left, there would be a mini icon which basically says a robot who's going to help you for whatever questions you have. So we can use chatbots for supporting learning processes. It can act as a virtual guide. It can give you product tuitions. For example, play videos for you. It can be a product tutor. It can be giving you hints and feedback for questions. Many of you would have encountered websites where it wants to take you through a tour of the website so that you know where to go for what. You have the option to go with it. You can say, okay, got it, or else you have to click dismiss. So it is also a way to take people through an employee portal, or you can take people through some complicated product schema diagram or a model or specifications document. You can use all of that with the help of a chatbot. Then it benefits, what are the benefits for the learners if we integrate chatbots? It's highly engaging. It's a two-way conversation because it's mimicking human behavior. So you're actually talking to a machine. Then there is learning and application becomes fun because you can say silly things to the robot and see what it says. So it also becomes a part of the process. By the way, when you are having fun, remember, you are having fun, but the robot is learning because you are having fun with the robot. The next time, instead of getting confused and giving you a wrong response, the robot will say, I'm sorry, I couldn't quite understand you. So that is how the robot is evolving. Then hesitation to ask questions is eliminated. How many of you have met that team member or that colleague in your classrooms who wants to ask a question but never asks one because they hesitate a little bit? With the chatbot, you do not have to hesitate. What is the benefit for the organization? The organization gets analytics, dashboards, insights, and it quickens the realization of return on investment. For example, let us say somebody implements a chatbot for their employee self-services portal. So earlier, 4 of the HR people were involved in responding queries and all of that. Because of this chatbot, now the administrative load has been relieved. People have become more productive in other strategic areas, and the return on investment is realizing not necessarily in terms of money, but in terms of time saved and effort. So you can still translate it into return on investment. Then when you apply chatbots to a learner's journey, it is efficient conversational learning. I put it as a separate pointer, even though I mentioned it under benefits of learners, because sometimes a learning journey is augmented by various technology features, and that's why I've mentioned it separately. From a learning journey or a learning path kind of a thing, it is also highly beneficial. For example, you pause a training that you're using on your mobile version and you forget where it is. You can go to the chatbot and say, which chapter did I leave my training on my mobile phone? If it's an adaptive platform, it will pick up from where you left, or it will say, okay, you want to revise this topic? Here it is. Yeah, I can give you the link for it. So, as a learner journey, back and forth, and moving forward to learn the concepts, it can be a great friend to have. Now let's talk about gamification. If you remember, I had promised you we will talk about the levels of gamification. We will not go into very deep layers of gamification, but we will have a fairly good idea to understand what are the different levels of gamification. So before I jump into that, let me ask the question, even though it might sound like a silly question now, but actually let me ask the question, what is gamification? Would anybody like to attempt it? What is gamification? What do you mean by gamification? Anybody?
Any learning that has been applied in the form of different activities and games,
Mm,
where
mm,
you have a experiential learning for learner
mhm,
with gamification. I mean, you can really design any game, or you can evolve, you can quickly pick up, and you can
mm,
design it in the facilitated format, where
mm,
it's more of experience that they will undergo
mm,
than teaching. So learning comes after the experience that they undergo.
mm, mm. So one of the things that I also, and thank you for that response. One of the things that I also want to tell you that there are widespread misconceptions that gamification is an outcome of artificial intelligence. The answer is a big no. It is not. Why? Because earlier, like ma'am mentioned, earlier also, there are enough and more trainers who would convert their exercises into various kind of games and will be teaching through games. Panchatantra is primarily teaching through examples. And there are many ways that we have also learned in the past, which have been in the form of games. Now that we are using artificial intelligence in a very extensive way to convert all those games which require physical effort and coordination into something that you can experience online. And that is why this common misnomer that gamification ka matlab artificial intelligence or online hoga, not necessarily. You can have it other way also. So now let's look at the other things that I want to talk about. What are the 9 levels of gamification? Sorry, 9 elements of gamification. One of them is a master narrative. Master narrative is the main sutradhar of the game that you are planning to play with people. Then what kind of challenges are you going to throw into your game? What kind of levels are you going to have? What kind of instant feedback do you want to give people? How are you going to maintain scores? What kind of badges are you going to give to people? When I say badges, it's basically a recognition of some level you have covered or what role you are being playing in the game. Then what kind of rewards do you want to give for clearing each level or helping someone else in the game? And then what kind of collaboration tasks do you want to push with the group of people who are participating in this learning game? And finally, what kind of leaderboards? So who can tell me what is a leaderboard? Does anybody know what is a leaderboard?
Leaderboard is something where all the learners will come together. We have different activities. Like I can give an example rather than
Yes,
a
please.
definition. So we
Yes.
are doing the intervention for ETA capability,
Uh-huh.
and what we do is we have divided into three E
Hmm.
models,
Hmm.
and for each and everything, even attendance, people, classroom activity participation, then
Hmm.
activities,
Hmm.
participation, asking questions. Then there's a self-reflection session where you will do a pilot project and comment session. They all have a scoring pattern, and this all scores get total up. And we have
Yes.
a leaderboard among the participants who is leading for that particular month and who is
Hmm.
the top five and all. So that it brings in competitiveness.
Yes, yes. And you are 110% correct. Leaderboard is like a dashboard, which is like a ticking dashboard. It is like जो इंडिया पाकिस्तान का मैच हो रहा है उसके नीचे जो ticking dashboard होता है वैसा. It tracks all the activities that happen in the game, कौन आगे चल रहा है, कौन पीछे चल रहा है, किसको क्या मिल रहा है. It is highly competitive and it's really, really fun. And when you can bake in these kind of activities in your learning series and learning experiences, that is when learning becomes truly engaging, especially with the generation who relate to this concept a lot. So, what are the four levels of gamification? Does it mean all organizations require all the levels? Not necessarily. There are levels that you can choose to skip, and there are some levels that you choose to implement in your organization or wherever you work, if you're an entrepreneur and wherever you work. Partial gamification. This is the entry level usage of gamification that can be applied as a quiz, an assessment, or a traditional e learning course. That's also a game. You can have, hi, this is Nia, and I'm going to take you through this learning journey. First of all, I would like to ask you some questions, and it's going to give you a mini quiz or something like that. And that becomes a level one. And it is great, you are ready to start. So, what basically it does is as an adaptive learning, it takes you to a certain level and begins your learning game as compared to taking you to the beginner level because you seem to fairly know the concepts, but you do not know how the application will run. That's also an example of adaptive learning while I'm explaining gamification. Then there is game-based learning. So game-based learning, so what I just spoke about partial gamification is that you get to interact with the game in the beginning and then it becomes like a normal online learning course or a virtual learning course. Here we are saying at level 2 that the learning is in itself game-based, which means the entire learning path is converted into a game. So I have done a cyber security training like this. There are monsters and there are this, and I have to click on a button and then the cybersecurity alarm will go off and all of that. So basically, the whole learning path is a game. You have to keep clearing the levels of the game to keep proceeding forward. Then there is a gamified learning path. Remember, there's a difference. When we say game-based learning, that means the learning path is converted into a game. Then there is a gamified learning path, which is level number 3, which primarily means that the learning path has challenges aggregating to different kind of proficiency levels. It also has feature scores badges, which means that you will get a different challenge based on your competency. I will get a different challenge based on my competency. Excuse me. It's highly customizable. So just not the game learning path has happened, but also the entire learning path is filled with customized games that is going to cater to my learning needs. And then we have the last level of gamification, which is gamified portals. Who can tell me what is a gamified? I know it's there on the screen, but has anybody
I've not
experienced a
experienced
gamified
that, but
portal?
I've seen online
Mm-hmm.
gamified portals are the apps and the portals where you can
Ah,
actually do any kind of a thing. I mean, for example, I just went through something. There's something known as Chakrabarti from
yeah.
Imati, where they
Uh-huh.
have made the onboarding experience to be completely gamified and
Uh-huh.
experiential. I've
Mm-hmm.
not taken the I've not taken any demo of that till now, but I
Mm.
assume that is gamified portal.
Okay. Good luck with your experience. Do let us know how it goes if you manage to go through it. But in gamified portals, in addition to your learning paths, what is available is what kind of training path. So, if depending upon the training path you are on, you will by default get micro learning push notifications on your mobile at certain times in a day. There will be reminders of certain learning assessments that you are supposed to complete. So, it basically takes control of your entire learning and all aspects of social learning and all aspects in which you will be able to complete the learning path. So it is just not on one facet or one platform, it includes all kinds of access. Your mobile device, your laptop device, your notifications, it basically takes control of the whole thing and immerses you into that experience as a part of being a part of the portal, and it allows you to learn throughout. So I've known that Make My Trip had done that, and there are a couple of other brands who have done gamified portals for their people's learning experiences, which I'm sure must have been fun. I've only experienced a portion of Make My Trips gamified portal, a portion of it, because that was obviously for internal consumption. But they had given me an experience saying that we would like to hear what you feel about it. And that time I was in the previous organization, and they said that it would be a great favor if you can give us an example of what your experience is going through this onboarding as a neutral person. Sudhakar Yadav has raised his hand. Yes, Sudhakar.
Ma'am, I just wanted to understand, or what we have done now, we have started the LMS in our organization. So where
Mm-hmm.
we are assigning the courses in the manner of learning journey. So in
Yes.
learning journey, what will come first, then second, then third, fourth, and then there will be assessment, and the person will complete, will get a
Mm,
mark and also get a leaderboard wala
mm,
mark. So
mm.
is that will be is there will be considered as a gamification portal?
Yes, it will be considered not as a gamification portal. From what I would say is it will be typically a gamified experience where you will be doing level 3, your gamified learning path out of the 4 levels. That is what I would suspect it to be. In addition to that, what you mentioned that you will be using this for people to have an end-to-end experience. Be
Mhm.
mindful that when you apply this kind of a learning path, people are continuing to use it, because most of the time people tend to trace back to previous kind of trainings that are going to happen. And please do a pilot run before you implement the entire gamified experience. Get some people who are neutral to take that experience and give you feed forward and feed backward so that you can improve the implementation. Otherwise, sometimes when we implement gamified learning paths, etc., people can get a little confused. So do some user case testing before you implement it.
Yeah, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Not always, Bhakti. It may feel like a video game at level 4, which is the topmost level. But otherwise, what happens is because it takes high amounts of wavelength and bandwidth, internet, there is an experience you get, but you control it. It's not necessarily a video game. It becomes like a video game at level 4, where the whole experience of learning the game, the micro learning, everything becomes a part of it. For example, I was a part of one of those level 4 games that I had experienced once, just once, where you actually cannot leave the game till the time you have finished your puzzle or your quiz. You just can't exit. And that time you are saying that this is where you are getting full control of your learning to a portal which controls your exit, your entry, your scores, your tracking, your assessment, and the number of hours that you have to complete. So let us say you have to complete 1 hour. To begin your session, you cannot exit in between. You have to finish it and then leave. So that is why when this question came up, I said be careful about how much you want to implement, because also this can be very expensive. Yes, Jugal. You're on mute if you're talking.
Yeah, I just wanted to understand, should we consider the simulation part as also a kind of a gamification?
Level 2. Simulation is level 2, because sometimes simulations can happen without artificial intelligence. It can happen through just a software link that you go and you start playing the simulation. It is a level 2 where you have an entire learning path as a simulation.
Yeah, because I think normally there are tools like
Hmm.
Epiplex or ABM's 500 through which you
Yes,
create the
yes,
simulations after capturing
yes,
screenshots.
yes,
Or maybe if
yes.
you are doing the same kind of a thing on Articulate and then
Or
creating.
a capstone project or something like that. These are all simulations that are level 2 of your game.
Okay, and the difference between the third and the fourth level, which is your learning path and the complete portal.
Hmm.
So let's say if there is a problem statement for which there is a learning path created, and
Hmm.
now you have certain assignments into it, which
Hmm.
is attached to the micro learning module.
Hmm.
And then there is an assessment also. So until and unless you are not completing the steps of that particular game, you
Hmm.
are being rewarded and you are being penalized also if you are not taking the
Yes.
right decisions. And then
Yes.
gradually you just finish that particular step, and with the help of that gamified version you are learning
Hmm.
certain steps. Let's say maybe a sub issue type, which is a
Hmm.
problem area, and
Hmm.
someone is really would like to train you on that. So
Hmm.
you're completing that particular thing, but here you are not getting any sort of a notifications.
Hmm.
So notification is coming just only in the game
Hmm.
when you're not clearing the first level or maybe a second level, and you're not getting the reward.
तो वो उसको छोड़ के उससे बाहर निकल के कुछ और भी कर सकते हो. But when
Huh.
you are in the portal, first of all, you don't have the option to exit. And second, suddenly you will try to save a file and it will say challenge. Your file has been erased. Now
Okay.
you have to talk to three people who are on your team to recreate this file for you. Because generally you do go in the portal, it integrates the behavior, the technical, the functional, and everything else into one go. So basically, in that moment, when you are about to finish the training, your file got erased. Now you have to work with your team. It is checking your collaborative skills, it's checking your peer-to-peer skills, it's checking your conflict skills. For example, it will say, alert, this team member is about to, uh, you know, uh, do something which will hurt you. So now you have to do conflict management. So along with your technical, you have to do other things also. तो तुम निकल नहीं सकते portal में हो. So you will have to finish that activity, or you have to do a hard exit. Of course, it's today's world. You have to do a hard exit and all your progress will be wiped and you will have to begin all over again. So that is the kind of a portal experience. Whereas when it's level 3, आप बाहर निकल के escape करके बाद में जा सकते हो, you can redo stuff. Maybe it will remind you that this is your second attempt. You left in between. So that
Correct.
is what the difference is.
Maybe it will give you an option to resume or otherwise restart.
Yes. Restart because your progress will be wiped and then you just wasted your time and you have to do all of it again.
Correct. Sure. Thank you.
All right. Let's now look at some final elements of what we want to understand in terms of. I मैंने कौन सा screen display कर दिया? Sorry, 1 second, guys. I displayed the empty Zoom screen. I want to go back to my presentation. Wow, I got overexcited and I think, I have your presentations here. Over. Here you go. Okay. So now let's look at a not very interesting, but rather a very basic and plain vanilla concept of everything that you already know. E-learning is something that you already know, but I want you all to also have a mini relief in terms of overloading you information, which is might be new for some of you, with information which is familiar, which is in the comfort zone. So we are going to talk about e-learning. We are going to talk about primarily how it has evolved over time. So there's knowledge databases, which earlier used to be oldies know what knowledge databases mean. It has a very basic form of e-learning, like we had an MS-DOS, etc. There would be a repository where you can go and have limited interactivity, and you will learn from that. Then there is synchronous training, which is done in real time with a virtual or a live facilitator. Here it says virtual life facilitator, like right now, you're interacting with me. I'm live, I'm breathing, I'm a human. And then I'm also virtually available, but I can interact with you. The same thing can happen in synchronous, it can also happen in person. Everybody can communicate directly with the trainer and with each other. That's the topmost benefit of a synchronous training. What are the flip sides? The flip sides are the feedback, the response and the flexibility, etc., is a little less. Why? Let us say we have a classroom of 180, 200 people. Can I respond to everybody's questions? No. Then can you get up and leave the room right now? You will miss some of the portion of the conversation. So flexibility is less, internet dependence is high, and also if you had to answer your queries while you have a trainer available, you might still have to come back and ask those questions. But the feedback is immediate, which means that in case you are struggling to understand something, you can put up your hand and say, sorry, I didn't understand it. Can you kindly explain? Now let's straight away go on the right-hand side, which says asynchronous training. At the top, there is online support, which I think all of you already are very, very comfortable with. forums, chat rooms, bulletin boards. It is more interactive than knowledge databases that used to be the arcane times reality. In asynchronous is more traditional in nature. It involves self-paced. So most of the time, asynchronous means that it is or learning at your own pace. You have more flexibility, but you can't ask questions to a trainer. It's a recorded session. That means that you'll have to find out the email address, you have to send a query. It will take some time to respond. Similarly, you can post your query on a discussion board. It will depend upon whether you get the correct answer or not. You might actually get multiple people responding to you, or you might have nobody responding to you. The feedback of the training, both for the learner as well as the trainer, will be delayed because you will finish the course, then you will give feedback. You just say Udemy ka apne feedback diya, LinkedIn Learning ka feedback diya. It is passive. So there is flexibility. It's self-paced, but not necessarily as flexible as you would like it to be. Now, what is the nirvana? For a trainer, nirvana is blended learning, where you get to combine the benefits of both synchronous as well as asynchronous styles to combine and bring a program that works for everybody. So, an example of a blended learning program, you have an instructor-led session, then you have homework, then you have self-paced modules, and then you have additional learning that Tina gives you, that nobody studies, and next day they come to the class, and then Tina asks, do you have questions? And everybody says, no, we don't have any questions. Okay, let's go to the next slide.
I have a question, right?
Wow,
Not because
finally a
you,
question. Yes, ma'am.
not because you said so, but if you could just go to the previous slide
Previous
of
one. Okay.
gamification.
Yes, please. Sure.
I was
Hanji.
just trying to ask from the application point of view,
Yes.
this one here.
Hmm.
So, these are levels, okay?
Hmm. Yes.
My question is, when we talk about gamification, so gamification is
Hmm.
not game-based learning, but it's more
Hmm.
than that, what I understood till
Yes.
now. And
Yes.
if we talk about gamification, does
Hmm.
any group with any experience and any exposure is okay to go with good gamification learning, or
Oh
should we have
God,
a
no.
blend?
No, no, no. Sometimes you have, so not sometimes, always you have to decide number one, learning outcomes, and number two, maturity of the audience, and number three, what is going to be your measurability and impact that you want to create in people. So
So,
when
what
you
is
have
the
certain,
ideal? Yes,
sorry,
okay, please go ahead. Sorry.
mhm, mhm. I would recommend that again, it's my interesting point of view. Gamification works beautifully for technical trainings, which are very measurable, very objective. Soft skills gamification trainings work, but they don't work beautifully. So when you want to learn people to learn technical concepts, for example, it's a firm for engineers or architects or CA people or finance people, it's a great way to teach people. Again, anything which is repetitive, task oriented, software usage oriented, or let us say we are teaching people how to use success factors, all of that can be used as game. But when it comes to softer aspect, leadership skills, behavioral skills, or things that require a lot of collaboration and stakeholder management, I would recommend that you can limit yourself to level one or level two of gamification, not beyond that. Like I said, it's my recommendation. It's an interesting point.
No, no, absolutely. That's what I was trying to understand because of
Mm.
let's say I'm trying to do something for dealership employees,
Hmm.
sales team or
Hmm.
service team. Now their
Hmm.
maturity level is very different.
Yeah.
They've never undergone a training. Coming
Hmm.
from OEM, we are doing a training for them. It's like, oh, we are going out of the city because
Hmm.
we have our own regional training center. So
Hmm.
that is the mindset that they come with.
Yes.
My only thing was that if I do a gamification thing with them, I need a experience here. But if I do
Yes.
something gamification, how much is the recall or
Hmm.
learning that they will carry back? On
Hmm.
that aspect, I was thinking and I asked this question.
So my recommendation would be to have a lot of games and lot of, if you can, and if you have the budget and you have the, in fact, there are some very lovely free psychometric analytics tools which are really fun to do as a group or as individuals. You can take them as a free game for this experience. They will enjoy it. You do not have to convert that into a virtual game. It can be done on a piece of paper or whichever way people would like to do it, and they will still enjoy it, and you will get a lot of meaningful data. One. And second, for your recall, for your number one, number two, number three, number four repetition, so that people remember. I would say that after the training is over, please make sure that you have a ecosystem put in place so that you are regularly in touch with the people as to what is working, what is not working, and on a period of approximately 3 weeks, put in a process knowledge test, a refresher, or an informal discussion forum to check how the rubber is after it hits the road.
Got it.
That's my recommendation.
And the three psychometric thing, would you be able to share something with us? What are they?
मैं निकाल के देती हूँ आपको. There are quite a few of them available online. Maybe some portals. Just say hello to me on my WhatsApp number, and I
And
will see if I can give it to you today or by tomorrow.
sure. Thank you so much.
No problem.
So, Tina, one more thing, like when
हाँ जी.
there are certain characters, or maybe personification. So,
Hmm.
I think during
Characters.
हाँ,
हाँ जी.
so basically जैसे पॉश ट्रेनिंग है या प्रॉश के सेशंस होते हैं.
हाँ.
So I have attended the ILT sessions as well, and normally, like in my current organizations, they do not conduct an ILT sessions. They
अच्छा.
generally push a module. Now,
हाँ.
in that particular module, there are certain some characters. So let's say
Hmm.
one lady is there who is going through certain situation, and
Hmm.
then the boss is like behaving in
There's
some
more of a scenario. Hmm. Hmm.
correct
Hmm.
scenarios are there, and then how the colleague is helping her out to understand whether
Yes.
it is
Hmm.
a work. There is a term, no, which is workplace harassment. So
Hmm.
is it a workplace harassment, or whether it is a kind of a category of a posh? How you
Hmm.
can differentiate that, and then where
Hmm.
you can lodge a
Hmm.
complaint, how you can get the
Hmm.
support, and all these kind of a thing. So now
Yes.
this is again a kind of a gamification we should consider.
Yes, it is.
We can, because I think it's
Yes.
one of the level or maybe the brick which you have just mentioned on the
देखो, ये एक mandatory training है. Everybody has to go through it. You have taken it. You converted the whole thing to a learning. That's level 2 gamification.
level 2.
आप जा सकते हो, अपने मर्जी से जा सकते हो, पॉज कर सकते हो, बाहर आ सकते हो, वापस जा सकते हो, and it doesn't impact my other trainings and other experiences that I'm having in the organization. It's standalone,
Correct.
but it's still a game. So it's level 2 gamification.
Level 2 gamification.
Yes, Parul.
Um, I just wanted to check once again. You had mentioned for soft skills, gamified learning is not a very good option. This is what my
It's
understanding
my
is.
interesting point of view, Parul, because sometimes machine से क्या ही तुम soft skills सीखोगे? To large extent, I think doing case studies and scenarios, etc. While the machine can do a great job in putting the psychometric inputs together. For example, if you make a designer test or something and you make it a game and you give it for people to rate, कि इसने तेरे को ये किया, इसने थप्पड़ मारा, तू क्या करेगी? तू वापस थप्पड़ मारेगी, तू वहां से चली जाएगी, या तू बोलेगी कि तूने ऐसा कैसे किया? How, what will you do? So based on that, you can check the behavior of this person, collaboration of this person, and you can convert that into a score. But beyond that, if you allow an artificial intelligence software to interpret reactions,
Hmm.
for example, let us say an artificial intelligence right now is monitoring how I'm conducting this session. So in some situations, I do raise my voice and I laugh loudly or something. It might misinterpret human emotions because it's machine, and it might say she becomes really unruly and out of control during her training and will give some weird, strange report. So, because artificial intelligence hasn't evolved to that level, so
Hmm.
utilize it as a friend, use it for measurable outcomes which you can interpret at your own time. But when it comes to behavioral trainings, I would say number one, try and do that. If not in person, do it in case based scenarios, have human connection more so that we can interpret the behavior better. Otherwise, it becomes a little clunky. That's again my recommendation. You can go whichever way you want, because with the kind of progress that's happening in artificial intelligence and the various tools that being provided, maybe that has gotten much more sophisticated. I can tell you, मैंने एक बार try किया था, it was a disaster. So I said कि भैया हम दूसरी तरीके से करेंगे, ऐसे नहीं करेंगे.
So, for leadership training, again, gamified learning is not a good option.
Why not? Depends upon what you're trying to do with the leadership team. क्या सिखाना चाह रहे हो? What is your learning outcome?
Hmm. Okay, the reason I'm asking because I had a context. I'd worked with a firm called N Paradigm, which is into
Uh-huh.
making simulation-led learning.
Hmm.
So in the
So
background,
what are we simulating? What are we simulating?
we used to create scenarios, and in those scenarios, let's say if a
चलेगा,
person is
game
choosing an
चलेगा.
option, हाँ, तो वो
हाँ.
thread line different हो जाएगी.
Yes, because the detailing of the case scenario is in your control. You are not letting AI interpret your behavior. आप
Yes.
control कर रहे हो कि case based scenario क्या होगा, कैसे होगा, and then you are gathering the input. So you are in control. AI is not in control. But if you
Yes.
are expecting AI to give you inputs as to how a person is behaving and interpret it, वो problem है. But this way you can do a simulation. बिल्कुल चलेगा game. Leadership
But the
development में
decision
कोई
tree
problem
was
नहीं है.
the mechanism we were using. We used to first
हाँ.
work in terms of preparing the decision tree.
हम्म.
And then let's say if a
Perfect.
user chooses the answer, वो decision tree वैसे इसको map करके,
बिल्कुल
then based on
बिल्कुल
that they will give the report.
है. एंड बेस्ड ऑन व्हाट द प्री डिटरमाइंड रिस्पॉन्सेज यू आर फेड इनटू द सिस्टम कि अगर उसने ये ट्री लेके यहाँ पहुंचा है तो उसका
Yes.
ये बिहेवियर है, ये बिहेवियर है, ये बिहेवियर है, उसका रिपोर्ट बन के बाहर आ जाएगा. हाँ चलेगा, बढ़िया चलेगा, नो प्रॉब्लम.
Okay. Thank you.
ठीक है ना, नो प्रॉब्लम. आई एम ग्रेटफुल फॉर द क्वेश्चंस, आल्सो टीचर्स मी सम इंफॉर्मेशन. Okay, so the last few minutes, I just wanted to also, most of you already know about it. Again, this is not new information, but it helps to see everything on the screen. How does learning interaction happen? There is passive interaction, there is limited interaction, there is moderate interaction, then there is simulated interaction. So when we say passive, it primarily means कोई भी interaction नहीं हो रहा. It's just graphics, images, animations, etc., of your learning content. Then there is limited interaction that we have in our content. And this all again depends upon the instructional designer who's creating the content and also the kind of content. If it's very serious content, आपका limited amount of animation होगा. There'll be a lot of text. Let us say somebody is learning some statute of income tax. उसमें तुम क्या ही तो animation कर लोगे. You might put some examples. So depending upon the nature of learning outcomes, you can decide what level of user interaction you would like to bake in. When we say limited, it will be clickable graphics, there can be navigation menus, there can be glossaries, you can put hyperlinks to external research and resources, you can have interactive assessments. That's limited interaction. Then what is moderate interaction? Moderate interaction will have animated videos, जहाँ पे video में भी आप choices कर सकते हो. And you can, based on your choices, the video will play. Then there's customized audio recordings, there's complex simulations, and then there's scenario-based cases. And what is the ultimate level of the learner interaction that you can build into your content? It is real-time learning. Use of gaming technology that Parul just mentioned, that ma'am just mentioned, as to she would like to implement. All of these are examples of simulated level of interaction. Which one is gaining more traction nowadays? Level 3 and level 4. Moderate and simulated is the way of learning going forward. Most people love it. Most people want to engage with it and they learn better with it. Why? Because today's generation, be it generation Z or even the millennials, they learn best through social learning. I'm going to send you these additional reading materials. Happiness at Workplace, very interesting article. Interactivities in e-learning. There's a white paper on VR and AI. I think I've already provided this. And there is how does chatbots assist in teaching the language? There is a huge section in your textbook which you have received. I know, I don't know whether you've received the soft copy, but I'm sure you received the hard copy where we talk about the challenges of e-learning and proposed workarounds. So that should be an interesting read. Even though it's not very heavy reading, it should be fun to read. Okay. So next time I'll see you on 4th May, I believe that's the Sunday. I'm going to meet you. With that, I'm going to sign off today. I hope you guys had a good time. You learned something. And even if you didn't learn thing, I think we had a few laughs. Thank you so much. I'm going to give you back time. No, I'm not going to give you back time. I'm sorry. I'm 1 minute over. I'll see you next Sunday. Bye for now.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks,
ma'am.
everyone.
Bye.